ladies and gentlemen, grab your tea and get ready for Tea Talk, where the topics are real, relevant, and relaxing. It's Tea Talk time. Here's Lady O.
Thanks, Tracy. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Tea Talk. We do have an interesting topic to get today, something that we all have had to do, or should have done, or is going to have to do at some time in your life. The topic is simply about forgiveness. And so I want you to go ahead and start sharing on your Facebook page. Go ahead and start sharing with your groups and start sharing with some people that you know need to hear about this. During this segment, I'm going to share with you about not only about my book, but I'm going to answer questions that you may have. So make sure you put your questions in the chat so that we can answer them. And I just want to give you the gift that I gave myself, and that was forgiveness of others. And even sometimes we have to forgive ourselves. So we're going to talk about all of those things. So we want to welcome everybody. Hey, Sister Etta Ford, I see you. Missed you today. Sister Cheryl, I see you. Sister Flair. Okay, and to Tisha. Okay, there's a lot of people on here, and a lot more need to be on here because forgiveness, when I tell you it's a gift, how many even love to get gifts? I mean, we really all do, right? But sometimes you get a gift you don't need. You get a gift that, somebody didn't get the right thing or whatever that you don't want. It's just not a good gift. But this is the best gift that you can give yourself. And it's also a gift that you can teach your children how to do and all of those in your circle. It's a gift that keeps giving and giving and giving. So go ahead and do that. Now, make sure you're sharing, call somebody up. We still have time. Tell them to get on. Lady O is about to get real about forgiveness. And I can talk about forgiveness because I used to always tell my husband, I think I'm the forgiveness queen. Forgiveness should be my middle name. Every time I look up is Evelyn forgives. Evelyn forgives this one, forgives that one. And I didn't like to forgive because I thought it wasn't fair for me to forgive when I wasn't doing anything to anybody else. People were doing things to me. And then I had to forgive. And I honestly did not think that that was right or fair for me to have to do that. But I realized over the years, as I got older and mature in Christ, that that was a childish way of living. It was a way of living that would only bring you tension and strife and cause you to live an unhealthy life. Because here's my example of unforgiveness. When somebody does something to you, you have a right to hold them real tight. Just hold them like this because they offended you and you're a victim. So you hold them hostage and you just keep holding on because they did that to you. But when you look at it, you can't move, you can't receive anybody else. And frankly, it's very uncomfortable to sit here with your hands holding somebody else. What about your future? It's passing you by. So I started learning some things and some skills. And so I thought after so long, I said, you know what? This one forgiveness that I had to have to do, which was a really big one that I felt like, God, this is really not, this is really not funny. I should not have to do this. And was forgiving my father. So uh, I'm going to go ahead and get into this. Some of the ladies here, the program directors, they have read the book and they have some questions that they want to ask me. But I want to just share a couple of things with you. First of all, the book is called A Day with My Father. And I chose this cover because this little girl reminded me of myself in East Texas because we didn't wear shoes in East Texas. We had red dirt and sand. And so we just didn't wear a lot of shoes, probably because we probably didn't have money to buy shoes like that. And the red dirt would turn them red. And we only had usually two pair, a school pair of shoes and a church pair. So you definitely were not going to get the church pair of shoes dirty and you're not going to get your school pair. So we just kind of walked around like this. But our dresses were always cute with sundresses. And I had my Afrocentric hair. So that was my picture that I chose. And then I chose the background because it tells the whole story about forgiveness. You see the cross there. Um, and then if you look down where the little girl is standing, there's a path. And that path has two arrows. One arrow goes to the left and one goes to the right. And the one that goes toward the cross says that this is the way that we have to choose when we think about forgiveness. We have to always choose to think about and follow the cross. Remember that that's the last work that Jesus did on the cross was forgive. What did he say? Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. So even though he was dying at the hands of people who, certainly did not deserve forgiveness, I mean, they were still crucifying him, and he forgave them even in the midst of it. He stopped dying to forgive them. And so it's a choice that you choose, but we are Christians and we are to follow the life of Jesus. And so his pattern said, or his path says to forgive. And the Bible, it says that we are supposed to forgive. So so this book was called A Day with My Father because the forgiveness I had to start dealing with was about a day that I went to spend Christmas with my father, whom I didn't know very well and hadn't seen very much. But I was really excited about going to spend Christmas with him because as children, you're going to get a Christmas present. And I felt like he's going to get me something special since he hadn't got me anything my whole life, right? I guess I must have been about 8. So I was thinking I'm going to get a really nice gift. And I was really, really devastated because when I went there, my father did not have a gift for me, and his my stepsisters had gifts, and they had nice gifts. I think one was a little motorbike, and the other one was a camera. This back in the day, they had these cameras that would be instantly developed called Polaroid cameras. Anybody ever got a Polaroid camera back in the day? Well, that was a really nice gift, and so I had to watch them play with their gifts and kind of act like I was really happy when in fact I was angry. So you can get the book on Amazon.com and just order. It's an easy read. And I tell you, it's something that I believe that every home needs to have. Because just like you have the Bible, you need a manual that tells you how to forgive. Because you're going to need to forgive in your family. And if you want to have a good family and a good life, and if you want to progress and move on down the road, like this little girl, you got to take your little dress, brush it off, and move on down the road toward forgiveness and shake it off. Because if you don't move, then you get stuck. You think you're holding that other person hostage, but you get stuck. And there's some people I know that even in the church, they act immature because they're stuck in a segment of their life that they needed to forgive. They needed to talk it through and move on. And they didn't do that. And so now here they are, a grown adult, and they're still stuck acting like a child. So the Bible says when I was a child, I thought as a child. I did things that were childish. But when I became a man, when I became mature in Christ, I had to put aside those things. And when you put something aside, just like if I want to put this oil somewhere, I have to take it in my hand and I have to move it. It said, put aside this. It doesn't get aside by itself. You have to what? Make the decision to put it aside, let it go, and turn your back to it. And that's what forgiveness is about. But we're going to talk about it a little bit more about what forgiveness is. Let's cover that first, and then we'll go ahead and get some questions. And also, I have a workshop that I did, and for the prayer conference this year, and I want to show you a couple of excerpts from there. If you need me to come and do this at your church or in your women's group, let me know. I'll be happy to come and give this lesson and share my book and help people get healed from unforgiveness. It's like a cancer, and it will eat you alive. And my life is too precious to have my whole life being dominated by a person who wronged me, because that's what they're doing. If you think about them all the time, if you're angry with them all the time, then you're just consumed with them, and you end up losing your own time and opportunities because you're consumed with them. And you know what was so hurtful to me sometimes is that I realized they weren't thinking about me. They didn't care they hurt me. And, they were probably laughing that I was stuck and I was still hurt and holding it. So I'm going like, okay, why am I wasting my time when they don't, sometimes people don't even have a clue that they've hurt your feelings, but most of the time they do. And some of them don't care. They glad they hurt your feelings and they want you to feel bad. So you're going to help them. So it's a lot of things I just kind of share with you about how I learned about what I was really doing to myself. So let's go. In my book, there are, like I said, it's an easy read. And let me read to you the chapters right quick. Um, it tells you how to use the book as a tool to be able to go from, being held hostage with this unforgiveness to being truly forgiven and truly freed of the person who harmed you or who did something to you. So I tell you about how to use that. Then I tell you my journey. I talk about my family because if anybody been in a family, you've had to forgive some family people. And then some of you right now, I know there are family people that you have not forgiven. That I'm going to challenge you to let it go. Okay, I'm going to show you how to do it, and you got to want to do it. And I'm going to tell you right now, that's what God will want you to do because Jesus what did it. So if he wants his son to forgive somebody that's crucified him on the cross, certainly he wants you to forgive that person who talked about you or that backstabbed you or whatever they did to you. Okay. Then I talk about my family and my mother in here because she was so instrumental to me writing this book, and I did dedicate it to her. Then the other part, chapter 2, talks about, are you my father? I went my whole life not really having a father. And my mother had, several boyfriends and people that were in her life that, were her companions or people that try to help her financially, help her with raise us and so forth. So I was always in the mode is, are you my father? Are you my father? Who is my father? I don't have a father. And that was very hurtful to me. And I was very angry about it. I was very angry with my dad to the point where if you read in the book, I said, I don't, care about him. I don't ever want to know him. And so it was a bitter kind of anger. It had gotten to bitterness, and bitterness takes on a root. It gets real down deep into your body to where it starts to grow unhealthy fruit. And that's where I was with my dad. Then I talk about chapter 4, the little girl grows up. Now, I wasn't a child when the little girl grew up. I'm talking about the little girl in me that wanted to hang on to that. Okay. So I'll tell you how to get the little girl and the grown woman to grow up. Okay. Um, then, Father, who are you? Okay. And this is when I started to question God, and I started asking even not my biological father, but Father, who are you? Where are you in all of this? When you get harmed and hurt, you want to start asking God, where are you? Where were you when this happened to me? When someone violated me, raped me, when they abused me, when my mother left me, where were you, God? Are you my father? Then I talk on chapter 6 about still under construction. After all that I went through, I still would fall sometimes into a state where I would still get angry, or I would, still not handle the way somebody abused me or somebody offended me. I wouldn't handle it as that mature young lady. I would still go back to that little girl and not want to um, even talk to them. So even though I talk about it being a process, so even though I tell you how to do it, it will take time, and it's a process. So you are under construction. Then I go to chapter 7, what is forgiveness anyway, what it is and what it is not. And then I just fall on my face and ask the Lord, I yield, Father, how do I forgive? How do I do this? I want to, but it is so hard. And I'm not going to tell you it's easy. It was so hard, and it took years. It's a process. It's not like I'm going to tell you today how to forgive and you get tomorrow you've done it. You're free. No, it's a process. But if you want to do it, you can do it. And once you decide to do it, you just have this great big sigh of relief that, Lord, okay, now I can move on. Show me what steps to take and help me get through it. And then the conclusion is I want to have a heart like my father's, okay? And it's not my biological father, it is my heavenly father, which is what this book is all about, a day with my father. Once you decide and strive to have a heart like your heavenly father, then you can forgive and you can move forward. But until you do that, you'll be stuck. In this book, also, I'm so happy to say that my father and I have a really great relationship right now. I really love him. We talk every week. I call to check on him. If I don't, he calls to check on me. It's a quote unquote normal father child relationship, but it did not get like that. But think about what my unforgiveness would have kept me from, um, had I chosen not to forgive him and to have this relationship, which I really felt like I'm grown. I really don't need a relationship with a father. I'm a grown woman. I got kids myself. So, when you could have been daddy, you didn't. So let's move it on. I'm good. Anybody else think like that from your father? Like, I'm good. I don't need this. Um, Whether it's your mother, your father, whoever. And then the thing that I really like about this book too is my father decided to write
whether it's your mother, your father, whoever.
Okay.
And then
Somebody's needs to root themselves. All right. And then so my father actually wrote something to me in this book. I have a picture with my father in here. I mean, it's just such a wonderful, wonderful read. And the good thing about this is it wasn't just reason why I said I thought I was always having to forgive somebody, because I found that it wasn't just my father I was having to forgive. I was having to forgive my children. How many of you know your children can hurt you? Probably not none of y'all's children. Y'all have perfect children. My sisters, my siblings, I had to forgive. And oh Lord, the people I had to forgive in the church. These are good, godly church people, but I had to forgive some of them, or else I would have been bouncing from church to church to church. Um, People on my job. And then even I had to forgive myself for some of the things I did and I said. So, yeah, you have to forgive yourself because you make mistakes or you do something that you're really sorry about, or maybe you were the offender who did something to a person. A lot of times it's not just you forgiving a person who harmed you. It's about, sometimes you are the one that did something. And I say, if you are the one that did it to someone else offended, you need to go to that person, and say you're sorry, and just admit what you did and say you're sorry, and ask them to forgive you. If they don't forgive you, that's on them, but at least you did the right thing because you know better, right? All right, so that's kind of that introduction for the book. So let me read this one little part here on chapter 7. What is forgiveness anyway? Because the thing you got to realize is what a lot of people think of forgiveness is, it's really not. Okay. It says, what is forgiveness anyway? It is the intentional process. Okay. There goes my word again. Everybody say process. By which the victim, okay, the person who was harmed, undergoes a voluntary change. It's something you voluntarily do. Okay, in your feelings and attitude against the offender and the offense. Okay, it is a process a person follows to start their healing journey. What's that word again? A process. Yes, it's the process and the person follows to start whose healing process? Theirs. So if you want that healing to come, if you want to get it, you got to start the what? The process. Okay, remember? So, and it does not mean that you're negating that they did something wrong. It does not mean that it didn't hurt or that it was devastating. It does not mean that you'll even forget it. The mind does not forget, but the heart helps them to go through a journey and a process of understanding that you're not perfect. And the Bible says we have to forgive. And do you know that people change? Something that they did to you when you were a little kid, they have grown and they have matured and God has changed them. So you cannot hold them accountable for something they did as a child or something even they did 20 years ago, because they may have changed. And if they haven't changed, you should have changed. You hear what I'm saying? That if they haven't changed, you should have changed, because the gift is for you. Okay. So, okay, let me stop here and let me get some questions answered. Some people that have read the book. Um, let's see who has some questions for me. Do we have any in the chat, or any of you ladies want to um, ask any questions of me? Go ahead.
Lady O, I have a question.
Okay, great.
This one's about forgiveness, because I've heard people say, I forgive, but I'll never forget, and I don't want anything to do with that person.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm thinking, is that truly forgiveness? If you say I forgive them, but I'm gonna stay away from them, I don't want anything to do with them.
That's a very good question, because if you read my book too, you'll find in there where when Johnny kind of is a process that started me back to getting back with my dad, because he got married. And when he got married, he wanted to invite his grandfather. And I'm like, no, he's not coming to the wedding. But Johnny was saying, this is my wedding. I want my grandfather there. So he comes. And when he comes, I was like, I thought I had forgiven him, right? I was like, oh my goodness, here he comes. I don't want to see him. I can't stand to be in the room with him. I started getting hot and bothered about it. And then he came over to me, and the people were asking me, well, who is this? Because the people at church didn't even know I had a father alive. Because I hadn't mentioned about him, anything about him. They said, I didn't even know your father was alive, you know. And I was like, yeah, if it was up to me, y'all never would have known, because I didn't ever want to think about him. So I said this is what he said: out of the mouth flow the issues of the heart. This is how you know you have not forgiven him. So he walked up and they said, so is this your father? And I said, for lack of a better word. And as soon as it went out there, I knew it was wrong to say it, but it was in my heart. My heart wasn't healed. My heart was not like Christ. How can you say that to your father in front of other people? But my little smart mouth, I said, for lack of a better word, thinking like I can't think of nothing else. That's so we'll call him father. Um, that was to hurt him because he had hurt me. And so, how do you know if you've forgiven somebody? When you still want to hurt them with your mouth, you know, your words, your deeds, when you don't want to invite them to certain things like the family reunion, or if he comes to family reunion, I'm not coming. It's not a mature Christian talking. That is a still hurt little boy or little girl talking. So you know that you have forgiven them when you can build. Now, let me just say two things, and it's in the book too. You have to know when it's safe to build a relationship and when it's not. Now, if you got someone who is um, molesting your children, and you know, Junebug, if you turn your head, he's gonna do it. He's gonna have him in the back room, and you know he has not been delivered. No, you're not gonna have him at your house for Christmas and to spend the night. Okay. Now, I can go and speak to Junebug, and he can be maybe at when I go to see him, I'm in his presence. I'm not angry anymore. I'm okay. I'm just cautious not to allow that to happen to me again. If somebody's threatening you with a gun and you forgive them and you know they're crazy, no, that's not what I'm talking about. The example is what happened with me and my father. He had grown up, and now I was grown, and he wanted to have a relationship with me. He had never done me anything personally harmful. What he did was he failed to be the father that I needed growing up. And one of the things God told me, he said, but you don't know the whole story of why he was not a good father. And as we talked, he told me why he was not a good father. He said, you know, your mom and dad, that we were teenagers, and I just got out of a household with a stepfather who was mean to me, and I really didn't want to be a father. You know, I wanted to, you know, have a girlfriend and have sex, but I really didn't want to the burden of that, and I just didn't know how to do it. So I'm just saying that there are other reasons why people do things to hurt you. And it may not always be the thing that you think it is. Okay. So in my father's time, God situation, God told me that I needed to forgive him. And not only did I need to forgive him, but I needed to have a relationship with him. He wanted me to have a relationship with him, a father-daughter relationship. I never had that. And now that I'm grown, I didn't want that. But he wanted it. And my husband, my father was a pastor, still is a pastor. So therefore, God had dealt with him. That's God's child. God had dealt with him. But now he was telling me I needed to forgive. Forgiveness is only there for um, people to do when there's a hurt, which means there are going to be hurts all the time. So forgiveness is given to us freely because God has forgiven us. And even though we might think, oh, well, I really didn't do that much. Okay, but you still did something, okay, that you needed forgiving for. And the Bible says that, if you don't forgive them, your Heavenly Father won't forgive you. And I know I needed him to forgive me of a couple of things.
Amen.
Even just the thought of even being disrespectful to my father, that was rude and it was not Christ-like. So anyway, you cannot say that you have really forgiven a person if you still hate their guts, if you still want to harm them, if you still want to say rude things to them, and you want to hurt them in front of other people. The way you know you're forgiving them is it's okay. I can still be in the same room with them. I can even buy them a Christmas present. I can give them a card. When I first started the process of healing with my father, for Father's Day, I would go into the Father's Day section. I would read the card and I'd be like, well, that's not true. Well, that's not true. And I'm just not buying a Father's Day card because none of these cards talks to what happened.
Yeah, good
So,
God, yeah.
I am not about to buy a $4 card of lies. I just won't buy no card. So it took me years to give him his first Father's Day card. And his first Father's Day card I gave him was after I wrote this book. That tells you how recent it's been. Because I just couldn't bring myself to buy a card for him that said anything anyway nice.
Right.
Okay. So that's how you know that you can give him a birthday card. My sister who hurt me, I was really very upset, but it took me the longest to be able to send her a birthday card or to invite her to my home. And of course, she said I harmed her too, offended her. So she finally invited me to have a meal at her house. But for the longest, I wouldn't invite her here and she wouldn't invite me there. But we're both Christians. And I said I forgave her, but I really didn't want her around me because I felt I still hadn't fully forgiven her. Does that answer your question?
Yes,
Shelley?
definitely. Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's right, Tracy. Okay, who else? Shelley, did you have a question?
Not necessarily a question, but one part of the book that really stuck out with me was when you said fairy tales don't exist in life.
Oh my God.
And yes, and God gave us imperfection along with a prescription, and the prescription is the word of God. And that when I read that, I was like, that was very powerful, Lady O. I want to say the book is very well written, and I could really hear your voice through it. But that was very powerful for me when you said that, and also the part about God doesn't allow you to move to another step until you master the skill that he wanted you to master when you're going through.
Exactly.
So
Yeah,
those were just
you gotta say,
things.
I got it, God. I got it. You gotta prove you got it before he'll let you move on. Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to speak to the one you just talked about because that was a very, very difficult one for me. Because in the book I talk about how I was always Miss Goody Two Shoes. Okay. Everything was always perfect. I did everything right. Honestly, I did. And I was trying to always be so perfect. And then I wanted to have this perfect, I dreamed, we all read the story Cinderella, that my Prince Charming was going to come and he would be perfect like me, right? And perfect family, perfect marriage, perfect children, perfect everything. And so, when you read the book, you'll see where I talk about It didn't happen that way. You still have your hurts and your offenses and things because you're both two imperfect human beings, and you're still good people, but you're still imperfect. So
Imperfect.
therefore, you got this story that this is the way my marriage is going to be, and it's a fairy tale.
Right.
You
It
know?
is. And they don't
Nobody
know.
has a perfect marriage. And so you come in there expecting your husband to be like that, and he's expecting you to be like that, then you're setting yourself up for a failure right there. And
Yeah.
that was devastating to me because I thought if you did everything perfect, then you would have a perfect life.
Mm.
And it's
No,
not going
it doesn't
to.
happen that way. Yeah.
You may have the abusive husband. You may have the husband who is unfaithful. You may
Cheating
have,
husband. Yep.
yeah, you may have a husband who won't work or who, is just not a good husband, and but you when you're dating, you don't see all of those imperfections because honestly, you think it's a Cinderella story and you're going to just live happily ever after. And you have things that happen. You may not have children that there may be deaths. You may lose a baby, you
Yeah.
know early in your marriage. You may be living in poverty. You may get sick or have an illness happen. There's all kinds of things that can happen that is called life.
Right.
And I always tell people, so what happened? I said life happened.
Life happens. Yep.
Life happened. People are born, people die. That's life. And we love it when they're born, but we're just devastated when they die. But it's
Yeah.
life. And
Yeah.
so when someone does something like that to you, I mean, I think the only thing I got by with, and I was very, very slimly got by it, was, and that a lot of women have it, is rape. I was raped. I was almost raped several times, but
Oh.
never ever was raped. God just wouldn't let it happen. One, because they couldn't have taken advantage of me. I was little, but God made things happen where it just stopped. They could not do it. Um, so those are kind of things that a lot of women have to deal with as being sexually abused as a child, and it's something that you have to learn how to forgive that person, and you have to learn how to move beyond it. Now, if they are just really a violent person, and if they've changed or not, then I would say you don't have to have a relationship with that person, okay? But you do have to release them.
Yes.
You see what I'm saying? You got to
You do.
release them. And
Yeah.
that's the part of forgiveness, because it's not for them that you're releasing them because they are guilty. It's
Yes.
for you
It's
that
for
you're
you.
releasing them. Yeah. So you can go on, and the new man, your new Boaz, may be right there, but you're so held on to this and so angry and bitter, you don't even see your Boaz right there in front of you. You don't see your next because you're still holding on to the last. Okay. So let go of that last thing, putting those things behind me, and press forward to reach toward the next thing that God has for you. It will not be easy because I know I've talked to women and counsel them, and they said that, in their body, they're feeling violated, and they don't feel as beautiful, and they're having problems with the sexual thing. Go to a sex therapist and work through that. But do not let that, what happened to you, keep you from enjoying a sexual relation with your husband. Don't let it, keep you thinking you're nasty or you're dirt, whatever it is you're thinking. Go see a therapist. Okay, let them help you talk through it. Yes, pray, but we need to get beyond just praying sometimes, lady, because you need a coach, someone who can talk you through it, give you a good book, and can help you walk you through that. And that can be a friend or somebody, like even myself. But you need counseling, and you need somebody who can show you the way, lead you down that path, because you're stuck in that frame of where you were as that little girl. You're stuck. You need someone to take you by the hand and help you walk you through and say it's okay, and that you can just call up sometimes and say, I just want to die, I just want to. And and I've had those times early, and when things happen, because Satan's gonna always tell you, just kill yourself, this is not worth it,
Hmm.
you just need to die. Well, let me tell you what stopped me from that too, because I was like, okay, well, I'll just kill myself. I'll just die. I'll just go. Nobody cares anyway. And so one of them was in the time when I was having problems with my marriage, and I said, oh no. I said, that heifer will not have this man. You know, I would call her heifer. You know, it's not a curse word, is it? I don't think so.
No, it's not. My mother used to say that word all the time.
Okay. Okay. Well, something my mom said heifer. So, I ended up saying that to people who were women that used to work my nerve. And I said, yeah, they'll be getting insurance money, and he'll be having her with a maid and a
Mm,
cook, and a new house and car on my death money. I said, the devil is a
mm-mm,
lie. And then I said, then they're gonna have me laying up there in the casket looking ugly and laughing at me. Honey, let me tell you something. If you got a man that does not want you, do not kill yourself, because he will not care. Okay.
mm.
And I may have said in the book, but I've told people before in counseling, ladies, all this crying and cutting his ties up and over this night, shining the flashlight in the window, trying to catch him in the act. Stop it. Okay. It does not make you look like a lady. That's why I call myself Lady O, because I'm a lady. I'm not going
Yeah,
to stoop to that. I'm not going to cut up
right.
your cars. And I'm
Mm.
sure not going to kill you, because then I'll end up going to jail.
Jail, right,
So you just destroy yourself.
right,
So think of yourself as being so valuable that I am not going to stoop to going over there trying to follow him around, or calling the girl up and cursing her out, or beating the girl up. You need to, if you're going to beat anybody, you need to beat him up, not the girl. But don't beat anybody up, because you go to jail. But a lot of times I've seen women, I'm going to go over there, I'm going to whoop her, and I'm going to tell her this. You only look foolish. You look like an immature woman on the street. And I know that's not what you are, because you're upset, but you don't know how you look. If you get a video camera of yourself, you're like, oh my God, is that what I said? Is that the way I acted? And it's a normal thing. But I'm telling you, you got to know before you do it what you look like. And it is not going to bring him back. It's going to push him away, because he comes to say, now she crazy.
right.
Oh, no, I don't want to go back
Mhm.
there for that.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, forgot what the question was, but I hope that kind of addressed it or talked to it um, a little bit, Shelley.
Oh, it did. It did. Well, it wasn't a question. It was just that thought that was so powerful in the book about the
Oh
family.
yeah, about the
Yeah,
living happily ever
yeah,
after, the fairy tale.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
the
That was
truth. That's
great.
the first thing y'all got to get. Y'all young girls, there are no such thing as fairy tales, and there's no such thing as a perfect man. And guess
Mm-hmm.
what? There's no such thing as a perfect woman. So he's not
Perfect
perfect,
woman.
neither are you. Y'all need to learn how to grow up and work it out. Okay, so we
Yes,
had
ma'am. Yeah.
okay, good. Let's go to a snippet of one of the prayer sessions that I did here for the prayer clinic, and then maybe you can ask some questions there. But like I said, if you need me to come and do it for your women's group or for anybody, I love helping people get through forgiveness, because I know how miserable I was. And once I got redeemed of that, it just it turned my life around. So, Pastor Johnny, could you go ahead, or whoever's working that, play that screen for us, and then we'll see if you have any questions. Put in the chat room too. Go ahead. It's coming. I don't see it yet. Oh, we don't have any voice. Can you put the voice on? I see the picture. Okay, let's go to another question. We'll come back. Somebody else have a question or comment? I really felt relieved, because number one, I knew as a Christian it was the right thing to do. And as the process went on and we started doing quote unquote normal things that a father and daughter would do, it became normal to call him and check on him. It became normal to care for him. I just had that sigh of relief. And like I said, it was a process that continued on and on and on, to finally one day I was just there. I remember the day when I really kind of, it was a moment. You have those moments. And I have the picture here in the book. It was a day when I was, I think it was either my birthday. Yeah, it says, okay, it's on page 46. And I know y'all probably can't see it, but this is the picture here.
Oh, I love that picture. When you were
Okay.
sitting on his lap. I mean, not on the arm of the chair.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
He asked me to come sit in his lap, and that's as far as I could get. So when I was, so I wasn't quite there yet. But the fact that I sat on his chair arm was the closest I'd ever been to my father, where we were in a relationship that was a daughter father thing. It said I finally had what I had been searching for my whole life, my father's heart, because he asked me to do that. He kind of
Mm,
pulled me over, and he wanted to take that picture.
mm,
And I guess deep down inside, I kind of wanted it, but I never would have negotiated it. And I think it was on my birthday. He had given me it was either birthday or Father's Day, because I remember there was a card given on that day. Um, yeah, it's probably in here in my I've forgotten if it was my birthday or his birthday or Christmas, but I sat on his arm of his chair, and the way he looks too, it's like something he's saying, like I've wanted this forever too. And
yes.
he said before many times public that the thing I hate the most is I hate I was not able to raise my daughter. I wish I
Mm,
had been there for her. And he apologizes for it and talks about it in the last chapter. He wrote a letter to me, and
mm,
I printed it just like he wrote it. I guess he typed this as all caps, so I did not retype it or add to it anyway. I just kind of um, say the first thing he says in this book. Lady O writes many great things, and I'm glad she gives God the credit for teaching her. Children are not bad; they're just looking for godly parents. I believe children become wayward because they are searching for people who are
mm-hmm,
really have love for them. Now, this is what he's saying, thoughts that he's gotten. I'm glad that God took my place in showing love and protection for my daughter. Ooh,
mm,
okay. So he's acknowledging that he wasn't there, that he is a place taker. And you should see this when you read this book. I thank Evelyn for trusting and following God and for bringing us back together. I never intended to hurt Evelyn or any of my children. It was the separation and division between father and mother. And when you and your spouse fight, children will get hit harder than you think. That's
mm-hmm. That's true.
Evelyn got hit in the fight. I like the definition she gives for forgiveness, and that she has a forgiving heart. So those are some of the words. He just wrote them, and I just put them back in there. But that part got misuse you. They've done all these things and things that cannot be undone. Oh, which one is that?
Okay.
So what do you want for your offender? Are you willing to do for them is a question. What God does for all of us. And it's simple. God forgives us. But many times we, even as Christians, we want judgment. We want to, an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth, a life for a life. But the judgment should not be for life. Sure, we all are human and we do get upset about things that happen to us, but we shouldn't want them to be paying for it for the rest of their life. That's not what God does for us. He says in his word, if you ask for forgiveness, he is faithful to do that. And so to forgive you and to cleanse you from all unrighteousness, right? So that's the word of God. So if you're going to be praying, you got to know this. You got to have this in your mindset so that you make sure there's nothing between you and God. So we talk about forgiveness. We need to make sure we're not giving people damnation. That's not what God would want, that we're not giving them hell, that we're not holding on to what they did and never ever wanting a relationship with them again. Now, you have to get my book and read my book when it talks about when do you restore the relationship. And in some cases, you can't restore the relationship because that person may be judgmental, not just detrimental to your life or your children's life. So there are some things, but you still in your heart, you forgive them. It's just that you forgive them and you have that relationship from a distance. And so there are times when you have to do that. Let's go on to the next one. So you have to know that. So when somebody offends you, you have got to know that your choice of forgiving them depends on you, because you can choose to forgive them or not. But just know that your choice determines your next. Bishop is talking about next. So whatever your next is going to be depends on how you relate to the person who offended you. It depends on how your attitude is toward God about you offending him and your repentance. So your choice determines your mental and emotional state. Because a lot of times we have sickness and illness all because we are full of unforgiveness, and we want to hold people in a way that God is not pleased with. It also determines your relationship with God. You have to do that because your prayers that you're praying, we're getting ready to learn about all these prayers. Your prayers won't go anywhere if your relationship with God is not there, and relationship with man. And Bishop preached about that on Sunday. But you have to make sure that you understand that your choice has repercussions, and they really are going to affect your relationship with God. It also reflects your opportunities. We have so many opportunities that God wants us to take hold of. But if you're living in unforgiveness, if you're living in hatefulness and just bent up with all of this anger and strife, then that's going to affect your relationship. It's going to affect your opportunities. It's going to affect your spiritual growth, because we cannot grow spiritually being angry and just being, you know, just angry so much that you don't care about that person, that you want to send them to hell, that if you really could have an opportunity, you might would do something to it. Okay, let's stop right there. And I wanted to just, that's one of the things that you as a Christian have to really check yourself. If you are the point that you don't care about that person and you want them to go to hell and you wish they were in hell, and if you had an opportunity to do it and not get caught, you would take them to hell. You know, I mean, let's just kind of keep it real. And I saw someone on here was writing about a husband, the husband and wives. Oh my God, that is a really, really rough one, because you know, some of the husbands can do some things that are just so awful, you know, and same
Yes.
thing with the wives. The wives can do some things that are so awful, and words can be said, and even to the point sometimes of physically fighting and all kinds of things. But if you cannot get along, you need to get counseling. You need to get some counseling, and you need to do what the counselors tell you to do. I have counseled so many couples, pastor and I, for so many years, and a couple of times we told them, don't come back anymore, because we're talking to you and telling you things to do. You don't do your homework. You won't keep your mouth shut. I tell you, don't do that. You do that anyway. So why are we here listening to you for all these hours? And back in that day, we were not charging anything. So we said, no, they're going to need to be invested in this, because they need to put something on there, because they just come back every week doing what having all kind of crazy stuff. Having the police was at the house this week. He called the police. So why did he call? Because I threw his what? So you know, so let me just bring, this is a good time to bring in this plug too. This week, and Tracy's going to tell us about it. We have an EXO conference for married couples. Now, let me tell you something about this. You need to go to conferences. You need to go to workshops. You need to pay somebody to counsel you, to coach you. Okay. Don't ask them to do it free, because it is a lot of time and energy. And I don't mind doing that anymore, but I'm not doing it for free anymore. It's a lot. And if it's important to you, you need to invest in that. So this conference that we're going to have, a lot of people talk about their marriage and they want to get better, but you don't see them at these conferences and these workshops. And so you got to go, just like if you're sick, you got to go to the doctor. Mm-hmm. If you need help with your marriage, bring you and your husband to this conference. Tracy, can you tell us about the conference that's happening?
Yes, ma'am. I am so excited about it. It's two becoming one. The EXO Marriage Conference is going to be February 11th and 12th, Friday night, Saturday morning. It will be Friday 6:30 to 10 p.m. And so many different activities. We're going to have workshops. We're going to have games, prizes, candlelight dinner. I believe we're going to have a comedian. Black Prince will be there. Mm-hmm. So I am super, super excited. Again, it'll be Friday 6:30 p.m. to 10 p.m. And it'll be Saturday morning from 8 a.m. To 12. Mm-hmm. So it's going to be great. It really is. And I know men are already ordering the roses, and they're going to have those delivered. So it's going to be a wonderful conference.
Great. Now, how do we register for the conference?
Well, and if you were that thing on the website, on the church website, we have a QR code. I know on this flyer I sent to Pastor Johnny, we have a QR code at the church. There's a QR code in your programs today at church. We had QR codes for you to register, $60 per
Okay.
couple. So
Yeah.
yeah, so this is a wonderful. I mean, I don't know where I can go and get all of that for $60 for myself and my husband.
Well, I've seen the menu for that night, and it is we have a chef coming in to do the menu. Nobody's bringing in
Mm.
potatoes and macaroni and cheese from home. This is a chef that's coming in with a gourmet meal, and we're going to have all of the things. It's going to be a really elegant dinner. And so, yeah, here's the information about it. Tisha has put it up in your chat there, a link, but you can go to myfirstmet.com. That's the website, myfirstmet.com. And you can go to the To Becoming One marriage conference. And there's a link there. There's a QR rotor with
QR code.
QR code. Thank you. And I believe if you go to the Facebook page too, I think there's some information there too. But anyway, you should be able to get it from the website, or just click here right now. Go ahead and take out your little thing and click in there and register now. We pay money for everything else. And I love Beyonce, but she cannot save your marriage. Okay. I love Patti LaBelle. She cannot save your marriage. Okay. It costs much more than $60. And then you go
Mhm.
there, you got to buy your Coke and you buy whatever else y'all buy at these concerts. I don't buy it, but I have heard that y'all buy some other drinks that cost $10.
Mhm.
Okay, y'all know what I'm saying? Those special
Yes.
drinks. So if your marriage is worth it, then you need to invest in it, not only with your mouth service, but you need to invest in it with your finances. That this is important to me. I tell you, I can't think of anybody who is divorced now who, if they thought a conference would have helped them, they would have paid the money to go do it. Now,
Mhm.
let me tell you, sometimes you just got the wrong one. Okay. I saw this lady the other day on some kind of TikTok or whatever, and somebody shared it with me, and she was using some special words, and she was just saying, to the woman, with your crazy self, you chosen, da 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 da. He didn't have no job. He was this. He didn't come pick you up in his car. You had to go pick him up. You know, saying all these things you knew. He didn't have no education. He was a fool when you met him. But no, he was making you feel good. So you married him, and now you're dealing with him. He want to whoop you. You know.
Mm.
Oh, she went down the list, and so I just say that to women, not in a comical way, but sometimes you've chosen the wrong one, and you just have to get the divorce. If he's beating you, and if your life is in danger, who wants to live like that? And when I counsel people like that, I would never tell them to stay together. If he's beating you up, because I always told Pastor when we first met, don't hit me, because I'm not the one, because we will be in prison. Okay. Because
Say
I'm
we.
just not gonna let you hit me like that, because I have about 9 uncles in East Texas, and if they know you hit me, all I have to do is call up East Texas boys. Let's go take care of him.
Mm.
You know. So I would not advise anyone to stay in a situation where you're being abused. Okay. I would
Yeah.
still say get counseling, because it still hurts, because you still want to be together with the person, but it's just you just can't do it sometimes. Okay. And you can try counseling, whatever. But once he goes to laying hands on you, or bruising your eye and cutting you, I know, put a gun to your head, I can't tell you to stay there. Uh,
Right.
yeah. So you need to figure out the safe way to get out. And they have things, places that you can do that safely, and then start again. But don't start right off with the next joker that comes through and tell my girl, you fine. What, can I get your number? And you want to say no. And I almost said something else. Blank no. I just got through with a fool. What you walk into my girl, you sure look fine, with your pants down to your thighs. No, I tell, like, my little niece, I tell her about this. I said, when you start with the guy, you have to look at him as, first of all, does he meet the qualifications of your list? Does he meet any of them? Okay. If he meets enough of them, then you start dating, and dating is interviewing. It's not going out, kissing and smooching and giving up stuff. That's not dating. Okay. Dating is you're interviewing him. You get his social security number. See, y'all gonna have me going off on something else for these single folk. You get his social security number, his driver's license number. You go check to make sure he doesn't have any, all these kind of things. You can check it.
Yeah, you can.
Yeah.
Check it out. And then go to his family reunion and talk to his family and see what they're like. How does he relate to his mother? How does he deal with his sisters? Is he the one that's always people picking on? Why are they picking on him then? Why don't they want him to come?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just saying, sometimes it's better to be alone and happy than to have a man and live a life full of hell.
Yes.
Amen.
The wrong one.
Wrong one. You are more than just a spouse. You're more than just someone's wife. You have a whole lot of good things about you. And this world, unfortunately, this fairy tale things makes you feel like you're not a woman if a man doesn't want you or is not coming after you. No, you're more than enough. You are fully woman and fully you're worthy. You're worthy of the best man in this world. But it doesn't mean it always happens that way, because life is not a fairy tale. He may not come. The right one may not come, but you still got to find out who you are, what God made you to be, and do that and find joy in other things besides that if it never comes that way. Okay. But another question or comment. I think we're about at the end. Where's my time? Anybody else have a comment or question? Well, I can just say, and as you can hear from all the people on here, there's a lot. We need to just get the book. And I would say this is, you give people birthday presents and things like that. You need to give them as a gift. You can go to Amazon.com and they will ship the book overnight to you. All right. And use it. Read the first part. It tells you how to use it. Because I was going to do a workbook to go along with it, but I didn't get a chance to do that. But I think at some point I want to still do a workbook because it's a process. And you need to do your work. As Izamia fans, I forget, I don't know how to say her name. She always says, have you done your homework? Did you do your work? And so it's not going to happen overnight, but you can forgive. And when you forgive somebody and let them go, it opens up the door for other people and new opportunities, and you're next to come that way. So thank you so much for joining me today at Tea Talk. I pray you were blessed. Send me some comments back on my email is ladyo@firstmed.org. Let me know if you want me to come to your church or to your women's group or sorority to talk to women about forgiveness. And I will be happy to. I'll see you next week at 3 for Tea with Lady O. Bye-bye for now.